Okay, sorry about the interruption there. We're back, and I realised when I watched the tail end of that video, I made a little bit of a mistake. Obviously, when I was talking here, I meant that this was the Bowman's capsule. So Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, and the distal convoluted tubule are all in the cortex, but the loop of Henle and the collecting duct are the only bits that stretch down into the medulla region. So that brings us back to here. So we've said, let's see if I can get this up so you can see it. We were saying that the loop of Henle, because of the way the salt is actively transported out into the surrounding tissue of the medulla, this creates a very highly concentrated tissue in the medulla. Okay, so really we could draw a line. I'll just draw it with this pen here. Line across here, and this down here is the medulla. And up here then is the cortex. Right, so what happens then when we move through the distal convoluted tubule? Well, distal convoluted tubule, your textbook only really has a few lines about it. It's saying in distal convoluted tubule, that's where the pH is regulated. And also some things like creatinine get deposited into or secreted into the filtrate. The distal convoluted and tubule and the collecting duct are both sensitive to ADH, and ADH it really is responsible for osmoregulation. So really what we're saying is that the collecting duct, and also to some extent the distal convoluted tubule, but your textbook doesn't really mention it, they are responsible for osmoregulation. So if we look back at this table that I gave you way back, probably about 2 weeks ago, and I asked you to fill it in, and I know that some of you found it difficult, and that's because your textbook doesn't really summarise this in a straightforward way. So if we look at the nephron, the main parts are the Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and the main bit then really is the collecting duct. So Bowman's capsule, what process? Well, we've said ultrafiltration. Okay. Where does selective reabsorption take place? Well, selective reabsorption takes place in the next bit, which is the proximal convoluted tubule. And that's selective reabsorption. There's also water taken out. I'm just going to add that in there at the side there because it is important. Maybe you should jot a little note down there as well. The next part is the loop of Henle, and as we said, that is the bit that's responsible for moving salt out here, water moving out and into the blood. But what it does is it creates a fluid that's surrounding the cells here. The interstitial fluid of the medulla becomes more and more and more highly concentrated in salt. So that's the loop of Henle. And then distal convoluted tubule, I suppose I could put a bracket around that. Your textbook doesn't really mention that in terms of this. And the collecting duct, well, the collecting duct, we know the process there is osmoregulation. Okay? So maybe if you just take a minute, go back to your notes, make sure you've got those things jotted down in the right boxes there. All right? Thank you. Bye.